Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so happy you managed to take some time from your day to attend this activity. I want to be better, but how? Where do I start? These may be questions we ask ourselves from time to time, especially during this period where we're living many challenges and having to learn to adapt to them. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Namita. I'm a sustainability professional with a background in environmental studies. I'm also a student of Logosophy. Since this may be the first contact with the Logosophical Foundation for some of you here, I will briefly share about the institution. The Logosophical Foundation is a school of human self-betterment. Logosophy was created by thinker and humanist Carlos Bernardo Pecoche in 1930. And today, there are centers and students in many parts of the world, with a huge concentration in Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay, but also extending to Europe, Israel, and Australia. In North America, there are resident students throughout US and Canada, and we have a Logosophical Center in Miami, in Florida. One of the aims of Logosophy is to offer resources for the integral improvement of man. And for this, Logosophy has a method, which encourages not to believe what the author brings, but rather it indicates that each one apply this knowledge in their own life in order to experience what is studied and study what is experienced. For me, Logosophy has opened up a whole world of studies that go beyond schooling and college, the study of my own life. It gives me the opportunity to know myself, to know how my mind works, to know how my thoughts influence my conduct. And by becoming more aware of my inner world and the resources within me, I'm learning to face life and its challenges with more joy and determination. This year marks 90 years since the establishment of the Logosophical Foundation, and there have been many activities around the world to commemorate it. Today, we have a very special activity organized for you with 3 young guest speakers from Brazil, Giordano, Roberta, and Igor, who will introduce themselves as they speak. To make the most of this activity, you can have something on hand to write down. What caught your attention the most? Or maybe reflections that arise. And before we get started with the activity, I want to quickly remind everyone to stay tuned till the end, where we will share more information on upcoming activities, free courses, books, and more. Once again, a very warm welcome to each of you listening in today. I will now pass the word to Giordano.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Giordano. I'm 21 years old, law student, and researcher of the Logosophical Foundation since 2018. I'm glad you're here with us to talk about this important matter. Is there anyone in here who doesn't want to be better? I've been observing that everyone has something that would like to improve. But where do we start? Have you ever heard that famous proverb, a leopard can't change its spots? Am I what I'm meant to be, and period? But what about my will of being a better person? The author of Logosophy teaches that man is the unique being in creation capable of experiencing changes as a result of his own determination. So in principle, I'm able to make changes in my life. Now, this determination to change, is it natural or does it need to be cultivated? I've understood that being better is to evolve, to overcome old habits, and to seek new ways of thinking, feeling, and acting. But what if I act in the wrong way? If I don't accomplish a purpose? What can I do to revert this situation and avoid future mistakes in the same points? How can I improve my inner conditions? A lot of questions, right? And I won't give an answer to all of them because I feel the need of a deeper comprehension about all these subjects, which demands time and a serious study. But let's reflect together. What has permitted mankind to advance in material, scientific, and technological aspects? And how can I advance as a human being? How to be better? Which knowledge allows me to do that? The logosophical science has presented me many knowledges that transcend the common aspects of my life. And one of these knowledges is related to observation. I learned that observation promotes important changes in life, based on what I pick out from it. But what exactly do I have to pick out? The creator of logosophy teaches that we must observe the effects of our experiences, the results, and what they teach us, as well as observe with equal interest the experiences of others, which undoubtedly will help sharpen our reflections. You're probably thinking, does it really work? So I want to share with you a simple but special experience in which I could apply these knowledges about observation in my life. My great-grandmother, which is 85 years old, lives in another city. In the beginning of 2020, I established the purpose to visit her on my vacations. I knew since that time that accomplishing this purpose would strengthen the love between us. So I organized myself, bought the tickets, and close to the departure date, the flights were shut down due to the pandemic. I'm sure that many of you also faced the same situation. A honeymoon, a family trip, an exchange year abroad. But how not to give up on our goals towards these unexpected situations? I'm gonna give a spoiler. I didn't give up on visiting my great-grandmother, and I've also taken a precious element out of this whole situation. In early August, the city's airport reopened, and with this came the opportunity to use my tickets. But then, other challenges popped out. First, I couldn't reschedule my tickets through the internet, so I had to search other ways to board the flight. And also, time was running out. Irritability and impatience were trying to make me lose control towards the difficulties. When those thoughts appeared, I tried to offer some resistance to them. I used to breathe deeply and remember why I was doing all of that. The greatness of my purpose. One day before the flight's day, I still hadn't fixed the problem. So I thought to myself, okay, let's give a last shot. And then I drove to the airport, talked to many people, and almost gave up. But a real important thing that made me persist was giving obstacles their real size. I didn't make them look bigger than they really were, and I tried to find the solutions for them. Tried for real. In the end of this journey, I could reschedule my tickets and put myself in the flight. The impossible became real. I was taken by a great happiness. It's amazing to feel like that, isn't it? And there I was, leaving the airport with a giant smile on my face, telling everyone, hey, I made it. And then, in the way back home, I asked myself if all of this was luck or coincidence. I pushed myself to observe the experience and analyze it as a whole, remembering everything I've been through until getting what I wanted. My conclusion? It wasn't luck. There were concrete causes that resulted in the triumph of this experience. Causes that independ of luck or bad luck. One of these causes was to have established the purpose of strengthening the love I feel for my great-grandmother. And the other cause was adapting myself to the obstacles that appeared throughout this experience. And instead of simply giving up, I sought the necessary knowledge to face them. Now, after applying the knowledge I've acquired about observation in this experience and picking out the causes that led me to triumph, what do I do? Two alternatives. I let these precious elements vanish like dust in the wind. This is the alternative one. Or two, I pick these elements and apply them in other situations of my life to triumph in them as well. Which alternative sounds more logical to you? The second one, right? You know, before studying and applying these knowledges in my life, I would have chosen the first. I would let these jewels escape through my fingers. Have you ever made a cake? When I manage the preparation and the function of each ingredient, it's like if I had understood the core of the recipe. It allows me to adapt the recipe to any other situation. I'm gonna know how to deal with the lack of an important ingredient, for example, because I've already understood the essence of the whole process. And this recipe, which is already good, can be improved if I reflect about what can I do to make it taste even better. So I've understood that observation is one step in the process of self-betterment. But this concept of observation differs from what we are used to here. It's an observation that pushes me to analyze in my inner world what impedes me of getting what I want. And, on the other hand, what contributes and brings positive results to my life. From this point, the mission is to identify in my inner world what hinders me and what enhances my virtues and values. Alright, Giordano, but how can one access its inner world, identify these elements, and do all of this? Let's see what Roberta brings to us.
Hello everyone, I am Roberta Dreon. I study chemical engineering and I'm a Logosophical student here in Brazil. So Jordan, one inquietude I have always had is the fact that every human being is a universe. There are billions of people sharing the same planet Earth, but each moment is perceived and understood in a singular way for us, with thoughts and feelings different inside. But what this universe that each one has in common with the title of the lecture? I'll share an experience that I had at the beginning of college. In a certain semester, I went to class during peak hours. At these times, in the city that I live, the buses are full of people, and few are able to sit. So we have to go to work or to college, standing up and very tight. In other words, externally at a bus, we all were living the same situation. All of us tightly packed in the heat, traffic stopped, and with complaining thoughts taking over. Could I be happy on those uncomfortable moments? I observed that I came home tired and irritated, and that the mood I felt, in large part, was caused by the influence of that environment, since I was taken over by the complaints of others. Then I searched for a resource that could allow me to live the moment, which was necessary, but in a happier way. On Logosophy, I found a very practical element that helped me with this difficulty. I learned that when I prepare me mentally for the activities, I can predict what thought will disturb me. And when they appear, I'll be ready to face whatever comes. So, before sleeping, I created the habit of thinking about what I will live on the next day. In this way, I anticipated what could annoy me. Then, when I woke up, the thoughts I had prepared the night before would wake up with me. I knew before I left home that I would have to be patient and tolerant early on when taking the bus. And this patience and tolerance should last until the end of the day, because on the way back, it will be the same thing. After I started putting these elements into practice, I realized that my day was getting lighter. The world outside was the same. The bus was still full of people, but I was already predisposed not to be shaken by it. I learned to fill the space with a song, observing the city that was still new for me, or thinking about my studies. And with that, I started to bother less with that situation. I understood then what that phrase meant, that each one is a universe. I began to observe what was happening inside me, in my internal world, and I discovered how effectively to be better, to live better in that and many other moments. And what constitutes that inner world which I cannot see, touch, but which nevertheless plays a determining role in the way I lead my life? Let's look at what I have learned on Logosophy about this concept. The inner world is the world of men's thoughts, while they remain unexpressed outside of the human mind. It is also the world of our feelings, the world of the sensations of joy and pleasure, suffering and pain. It is the world of positive and negative reactions, convictions, ideas, our self-image, and so on. It is finally the world of all movements and acts of our will. And what I found incredible is that I am the only person who can know this world. If I don't externalize a thought, a feeling, the people around me won't know what I'm feeling, thinking, or what's happening to me. And after knowing what constitutes my internal world, can I change it? Can I get mastery of what I think and what I feel? I see this is the key to being better. I'll bring another experience in which I could observe these movements in myself. Probably everyone had difficulties with a teacher or subject in college or school. Well, in the same semester that I was going to my classes on a crowded bus, this happened to me. Right at the beginning, I realized that I had certain reactions with the way that the professor interacts with us. I had no motivation for that class. The thoughts made me just complain, and it was hard to pay attention. I was tired and annoyed. Observing these internal movements, I prepared some thoughts to help me in those moments. It is only once a week, Roberta. You are studying in an excellent university. How many you like to be in this class in your place? Or else, for some reason, you have this subject. Focus only on content. And these thoughts help me to contain the reactions. But sometimes I forgot his mental preparation. And what happened? The complaints were back strongly. Time was crawling. But one day I remembered another element, which says the following. The observations that you make of your fellow man, as well as of everything that surrounds you, will enable you to improve greatly, correcting your deficiencies and enhancing your qualities. And this time, by observing an attitude that I didn't like and bothered me someone else, I identified something surprising within myself. I discovered that what bothered me was something that I had to, that the jokes he makes with the students, I sometimes reproduce myself. When I realized this, I became more tolerant in class because we had something common. And I could also be more conscious of the jokes I make with friends. This experience allows me to change something in myself that I did not even know existed. The observations allows me to know every day a little more than what exists in my inner world. And from that to decide if I continue to act in the same way or make efforts to improve myself. With this knowledge that I'm acquiring about myself, I create the possibility of being the owner of this internal world, of being better, and of getting closer to who I want to be. Logosophy teaches that adversity is the law of life, and that we will all have to fight. I can even be better in the face of the struggles that life presents to me. Discovering that this different way of facing problems is within me. I have learned that happiness doesn't depend on the moments that I live, but on how I live them. And this comes with the knowledge of my internal world, the unique universe that exists in each one. If I have more resources, I have more chances to live better, to be happier in each situation that presents itself. And you, Igor, what have you been living in the effort to be better? Is it enough just to want to improve yourself, or do you have something else?
Hi everyone, glad to be here. I am Igor Teixeira. I am 24 years old, a mechanical engineering student, and I study the logosophical science in Brazil. Well, with my studies, I have learned some elements that is helping me a lot in the effort to be better. I've always wanted to be better. I wanted to be a better son, a better student, a better brother, a better boyfriend. In short, always wanted to be a better human being. And something that I learned is the new meaning that logosophy brought for me for the word archetype. So, for the logosophical science, the word archetype refers to an ideal image or a model of who I want to be, not only for the professional life or the social life, but mainly for the inner life. This image will be attached within what I am and how I act in all different circumstances in my life. And also, I'm learning that I need to pursue this image. This image that it's like the ideal Igor for me in the future. But a not so distant future, a realizable future that's being built day after day. Do you know those tube men, those inflatable moving advertising products that is sometimes placed in front of gas stations to get attention? So, that inflatable man that is there sometimes turns to one side, then turns to another. In short, he is at the mercy of the wind, right? I learned that I must not be at the mercy of my thoughts. One day I want to study, the other day I hope that the teacher is absent and the exam is easy. One day I start English classes, 2 days later I give up, and so on. Logosophy taught me how to follow this path, to the pursuit of my archetype. And I learned that I need to measure the distance I will have to go through to reach this image. For example, I said that I wanted to have a happy family, right? But what is a happy family for me? A united, joyful family that takes care of each other. And to achieve that, don't I need to cultivate a lot of good things? Respect, affection, joy, generosity. All of this is within the objective of having a happy family and needs to be connected with that ideal Igor, isn't it? After all, these virtues will, in a way, be the ingredients that I will take with me to live this experience. Or am I going to hope that only others collaborate to the family's happiness? Well, returning to the archetype theme, I created the model of who I want to be. And of course, I put a lot of qualities in it, right? At these times, when we define this image of who we want to be, we are very generous, aren't we? We picture us being patient, perseverant, kind, humble. But then, the work to achieve this image, this is great. And how about you? Do you already have an archetype that you want to achieve? You can feel free to leave in the chat some virtues that are your person at this moment in your life. I will tell you something that I experienced months ago. Every day, when leaving work, I pass through a narrow path where only 2 or 3 people can pass side by side. And this generates a line to go to the place where I catch my bus. There, where every day people pass with a certain slowness in their steps, I started to identify two thoughts. The first, of impatience, making me want to pass whoever was in front of me, and thinking, does this person have nowhere else to be? Does this person have nothing else to do? And the second, the thought of irritability. I didn't even know the person, but I no longer sympathized with him because he was blocking my way. Observing these thoughts in me, I saw that they were accompanied by several other physiological deficiencies, abruptness, intolerance, and that they had no reason to be. As the days went by, identifying these deficiencies, I began to reflect on my archetype, that is, the image of Igor that I want to become, of the virtues that I want to have, of the behavior that I want to have for myself and for others. Was being impatient part of my archetype? At the same time that a voice in my head said, you are like that and that's it, almost saying like, you will never going to change. Another made me think with consciousness about the resources and knowledge that can help me to be different. I saw that rush and impatience would not get me to the place earlier, and even if I arrived earlier, I would have to wait for my bus that always arrived at the same time. I knew I could change that state of impatience. So in the following days, when this state of impatience wanted to manifest itself within me, I already stopped it with the purpose of cultivating my archetype. And also, I would remember that teaching that was mentioned at the beginning of the lecture by Jordan. Man is the only creature able to make changes by his own determination. Then I started to exercise the patience, to think about those people, about what they were doing there, to think that, like me, they finished a day at work. And I discovered something very important. It wasn't just the impatience, the rush, the irritability manifesting in me. It was something even bigger. It was selfishness. This thought that makes me want everything for myself, that makes me want to get there first, that makes me indifferent to others, versus the space of my life. Now, imagine a pilot on a runway with his plane. This plane has a defined route and a destination. What happens if that pilot deviates 10 degrees from his route? What if this pilot does not have a defined route, or live without the GPS, without the coordinates, just with the arrival point in mind? Will he get to where he wanted to be at the end of his trip? So, creating an image of who I want to be is like establishing a route to follow, to facilitate my journey, and also help me to fulfill what I want to live, to be happy. It's a great effort, but full of joy. I would like to return to the theme of the lecture. I want to be better, but how? For me, Being better involves all that Giordano, Roberta, and I said. Defining an archetype based on the logosophical meaning, trace a route to the realization of that ideal. Knowing what within me can favor or hinder this process, and practicing conscious observation every day so I can get a real sense of where I am and what to do to move on. This has allowed me to feel life as something of my own, something that I'm building with my effort and knowledge. In closing, I share a teaching that has helped me a lot. Everything that one wants with one's heart remains in one's life, and not only does it come to represent a value before it is obtained, but this value increases as one achieves each possession. So I hope that this activity has brought something of value to you. And now I will leave with something to think about. Do you remember the plane's pilot? The one who left without a defined route? Now you. How are your flight plans? Thank you all.
That's a great question, Igor, and a great way to end the activity today. Thank you so much, Giordano, Roberta, and Igor, for sharing so many of your experiences, so relatable, and the value that you could extract from it. I hope this was beneficial to all of you listening, and it could generate reflections. I want to mention about our upcoming activity, a 4-part lecture series starting on May 8th on the topic of what qualities can we cultivate to prosper in the workplace. Speakers will present their experiences on topics like adapting to change, balance, and much more. We also routinely offer information courses on logosophy and how to apply its method. So if you would like more information about it, or if you would like to be notified of the upcoming activities, you can complete the form using the QR code. So you can just scan it with your phone, or the link will be pasted in the chat. So you can use the link, bit.ly/logosophy info. You can also visit the website at www.logosophy.info, where you can download many books for free and learn more about the method and the institution. That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for your participation